Alright, getting another stream started. We've got some nice rain noises in the background. Today we're going to be hanging out in the physical world and doing some small things. I'm trying to repair a flat flex cable for a touchscreen. And so the plan is to try to get conductive epoxy and copper tape in the right spots very carefully under the microscope with a razor blade. Someone was just popping into Twitch chat to ask about the thing that's on screen. This is just like an animation that shows the very beginning and the end of stream, because I just got started. It's just a composite of a few things that look kind of fun together. It's a test pattern under fairly bad analog television reception conditions, combined with a sort of bouncing line pattern displayed on a CRT that was coming from a graphics demo running in a microcontroller a while ago. And then the back layer is... Oh, Tuco, don't stand on that. The back layer is kind of a nice ambient video of some birds and power lines from a place I used to live in. And my cat is here being all sorts of ways. I was about to get the camera on him. Ow! One of those ways is pointy. Tuco, you're so pointy. Oh, Tuco, that wire is not long enough for you to stand on. Honey. What are you doing? Ow. Tuco, you're so much. Okay, this cat. Gosh, this chair is also kind of squeaky. Not so great, is it? That blank spot's usually where the oscilloscope goes, but we don't really need that right now. So clearly I need another layout for this. Oh, Tuco, you coming over here? Tuco is so much sometimes. Oops. I'm really damaging that sticker. I didn't intend to do that, but it's not a load-bearing sticker. I did get some pictures of it earlier. Hey, Tuco. Hey. Oh, Tuco. Tuco, don't be looking for wires to eat, honey. Hey, don't. Tuco. Tuco. Tuco, you just wanted attention. What do you want? Weird little tiger. Yeah. Weird little tiger. Hmm? Gosh. Yeah, that's right. There's a comment from YouTube chat that since I'm fixing a wire, Tuco has to keep the universe in balance by breaking one too. Well, he seems to want out, so I'm gonna let him. Hey. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to mess with the screen layout or not. I think I'm just going to put some relevant documentation up on the screen so that it doesn't seem so useless. Is there really no way to reset the rotation? There's only a rotate right menu item. Gosh. Oh yeah, we have the good old example of the back of a computer. Typical computer. Zuko went back in already. Yeah, love you. Hello, everybody. I keep having the urge to put on an anti-static strap, but there's literally nothing in here except like conductors and insulators. Today's fix will involve applying a conductive insulator. Oh, is there a problem with the diode zone stream? Let me check that out. Yeah, okay. I tried to do something different. I tried to make the PeerTube stream. I I tried to use PeerTube as it's intended rather than as I've been kludging it, and that didn't work out. So I'm gonna go back to the kludge. The issue is that PeerTube really has trouble keeping live streams connected, and when you disconnect even for a moment, they consider that to be the end of the stream. So it it just adds up to a giant problem. You basically to work around that, I've been telling PeerTube that this is a like permanent live stream, but you know, even though I make a new one for each day, and then I just upload the archive afterwards separately. But the way I've been doing my multi-streaming lately is with this Nginx, or not an Nginx thing. That's what I used to do. I'm using a plugin for OBS, so I can actually start and stop and modify the parameters for all the streams separately without messing up the ongoing stream. So I can actually fix this. Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, the UI on PeerTube is kind of ambiguous too, because you can't even really tell whether something was like an uploaded video or an archive from a live stream or what. And like the problem with the streams not having any way of recovering from like any network problem doesn't seem to be something the PeerTube devs are like in a hurry to fix. So I'm not really sure how that's going to go. I don't know how invested to get in it as a software developer. Right now, my role has really just been a system administrator there. Got to risk actually opening a web browser on the machine that's running the stream. OBS plugin was really going at it on trying to reconnect though. Also, very annoyingly, every time you stream in PeerTube, it makes you use a different stream key, so there's like really no way to have that not require some settings changes unless I go and write some scripts specifically to automate that. Yeah, the PeerTube part of my streaming workflow is annoying. Like, I've got things pretty much hammered smooth on the YouTube and Twitch side, but there's still a whole bunch of fussing I have to do to start every single stream on PeerTube. Okay, diode zone is accepting packets again. Yeah, that is much easier to debug than the previous restreaming setup I had, where I had a separate Linux server here doing like Nginx and FFmpeg relays. Okay, yeah, it looks like the diode zone stream is back up and should reconnect automatically if it drops again. I'll just have to keep doing it this way instead of trying to get it to actually store the recordings automatically. Oh yeah, that's a good question from chat. Christian is wondering why this flex cable is using this like silver conductive ink style instead of copper traces like you see in a lot of cables. Yeah, that's a good question. This is a different style of flexible circuit that you do see pretty frequently on things like keyboards. My assumption is that this is the process that they needed in order to make the touchscreen itself work, and this is just an extension of the same piece of material that the touchscreen overlay itself is manufactured on. So I think they just used that same process to make the cable, and then came up with a termination for the cable. But this isn't an uncommon construction method. You see it a lot on keyboards. Basically stuff that has to be flexible but doesn't need to be low resistance. So I think it's something where you can deposit metals on like more kinds of plastic than like copper cables, because I think the copper cables just use Kapton, whereas these, I think this is PET probably. So you can use like low temperature plastics with this kind of stuff. So I don't know, I'm not like a materials scientist obviously, but I think it has something to do with compatibility with the base materials that they're using and with the like flexibility properties they want to get. Cool. Well, thanks for telling me the stream was down, and I'm glad it was something I could fix during the stream. Tsuko's really liking this weather. Okay, I'm going to give this another test just to see where we're at as far as conductivity. But I suspect what I'm going to do is just reinforce all of these with a bit of extra conductive epoxy. That's what I'm going to add to this. But to also run a separate jumper wire for just two of the pins that I think are having specific problems. That would be the third and the fourth pins from the left here. I don't know which of those two specifically is like the immediate cause of this problem, but they're both a little suspect, so I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up fixing them both, but I'm going to test it again just to see where we're at. Oh, is Tuco gonna... I was trying to have the multimeter on the screen, but of course that means it has to share the camera with Tuco. Or with me. I'm going to borrow the camera to get this shot, and then we can look at some more Tuco. See, the other thing that's annoying about this is that the problem is intermittent. So right now it's actually not too bad. I bet if I plugged it in this state it would work, because this is higher resistance than the other parts of the touchscreen. It's like double, but it isn't like 1,000 times the resistance, which is what we were seeing before. Well, if I'm not reproducing the problem, I think I basically just have to fix it, like, without knowing where we're at. Like, it's already working. I'm going to fix it even though it's already working, knowing that it's, like, actually just flaky right now, and this is just luck that we're getting 40 ohms instead of 200 kilo ohms. Alright, fine. We'll skip that step. I think that'll work. There's a cat hair on that one. I think this will work. My plan is basically just to build up a little mask and then scrape a layer of this epoxy over with a razor blade and have a strip of copper tape ready to go to stick right on top of the epoxy. So the epoxy will be bridging over this damaged area of the cable, and then also on two of these pins I'll be using the epoxy to help conductively adhere some copper tape along the path between this area and the actual connector. And I could solder the copper tape to the connector maybe, but it seems a lot less risky to use the epoxy there also. They did surgery on a touchscreen cable. Okay, my first inclination for what to do next here is just to build like a little moat around this side and that side with tape, and then like deposit a layer of that epoxy with a razor blade across all that, and then when it's just only very slightly set, pull all the tape off so that I get a nice clean masking. The complicating factor there is that I also want to put in these copper tapes. I think I want to take some of this copper foil tape and like cut it in half so I have even thinner pieces and attach it to this third and fourth wire here. And the tape is going to run off this direction to the right. So I think I need a way to pull out all the insulating tape, or the masking tape rather, to the left, and then leave it, leave the copper tape on the right side and have it just pull out from underneath there. So I think I need to make the moat on this side with 2 separate strips of tape. I guess I could maybe leave the tape in place and just make that part of the assembly. I mean, I probably would have used a different kind of tape for that, though. Like, I don't know how good of an electrical insulator this blue tape is. I'm mostly just using it for masking. Yeah, let's plan on replacing all the blue tape with that clear nail polish, which I think was still plan A. So... I think I need to cut this tape in half. Cuts very smoothly on a sharp knife. Could use to be a little smaller so that it's not a pain to keep insulated, right? Oh. I'm glad my fingers don't look too horrifying under the microscope. Maybe I should just cut these into quarters instead of halves. Like, there doesn't need to be very much copper. I can put the copper under some Kapton to protect it from the elements. This is sort of like a randomized process of like making some cuts that aren't extremely accurate and then just picking the pieces that are the width you want. Although I think I got some that are too thick and some that are too thin that time. Right, this does look a bit like surgery, doesn't it? I didn't make these too short, did I? What do you think that little defect in the surface is? I don't know if that was there already or if that was from me poking at it, but I don't think... Yeah, I don't know, maybe I was just like dragging an oscilloscope probe across the surface and causing that earlier. Like that, but with a glue underneath. Alright, and I've got one more of those. So delicate. Well, I mean, this epoxy, I've tested it and it seems to work, but it's very slow to cure, so I've got plenty of working time, probably. Okay. I think that's ready for a little bit of conductive glue. I would like to clean it before adding the glue in theory, but I don't really know what would dissolve either the substrate or the silver ink on here, so I don't know if it's safe to even put isopropyl on here. And I also just recently uncovered enough of it that there's probably enough like untarnished surface that I'll get a good connection at least. Alright, I'll be right back. tempting to put the Kapton tape on right now, but I think I want to lay the copper totally flat first, and I'm saving that until after the glue. Alright. Zuko, do you want to leave? You wanna go? Yeah, see you later. Need a mixing stick. Zuko wants back in already. Yeah? Yeah. What? What? I'm busy. Zuko, I'm working. Yeah, you wanna come in here? What? What do you need? What do you need? Zuko. Yeah, I don't know about him. I think he just wants some attention. Is that enough? Looks like a lot. I'm gonna need a lot though for this. Oh, Rick Fries. Oh, hey, thanks for the tip on YouTube. Yeah, I've got some good memories of Fries. R.I.P. FN chat, etc. Maybe I should just mix this with the razor blade too. Making some conductive wood while we're at it. And a insulated razor blade. I guess I can sort of use the razor blade as a mixing surface. This is mostly just looking like a mess though. Okay. Let's try that. I might have to mix some more. Oops. No, not whatever that was. Oh, you know, I guess it's... I'm probably just going to end up pulling off the tape before putting down the copper anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered if I made the moat on the right side in one piece. Never mind. That actually was easier than I expected. I'm going to try to get more of this on there, because I want the layer as thick as practical, but then I just need to put some on the connector side too. These voids are not going to do me any favors. I don't know why I can't get rid of that void. That's better. I think there was an air bubble that was squishing up against the tape each time. And this one, I don't need a smooth layer so much as I want it to fill a couple of those connector cups. I should have insulated between those. That's fine, that's already basically what I was going for. Folded it over a second time accidentally. Zuko wants back. I think I save taping over this until after the epoxy's cured, and then I can have the tape extend over the joints too. Or maybe I tape just the middle part and then nail polish over the epoxy after it cures. This is a conductive epoxy. Oh gosh. I have some relatively thin Kapton tape that's still going to look giant at this scale. I don't know. I'm a little worried about the epoxy curing under there, but it shouldn't need air to cure, and I want something to at least physically press it down against the connector. There might be short circuits in there, but I think I can scrape away any shorts after this cures. So maybe now's the time to pull off the masking. And then we have to put down the copper and then let this all very carefully cure. That's a good question from chat. Matt is wondering if this is a keyboard connector because it looks like one. It's for the touchscreen, but it is basically made using the same process as most keyboards. It's, I think, a PET plastic film with a silver ink deposited on it. far so good. Try not to make a giant mess with this. Oh, look at that. Tuco really wants back in, but I'm gonna wait until I'm done with this delicate stuff. Just trying not to get epoxy all over everything at this point. I'm going to trim that cover capped on tape after the epoxy cures. I don't really want to mess with that any more than I need to until the delicate part is over. But yeah, I think that went pretty much according to plan. I've never actually tried that technique before, but it seemed like it should work. Basically, it's like doing fingernail art, but on a flat flex cable. And this end is obviously kind of messy, but it'll be easy to scrape off the extra epoxy once this is cured. So yeah, I think that's about it for the current stream. I'm going to wash my hands and clean up this mess a little bit, and then we can hang out with Tuco for a minute before I wrap this up. Oh, there's a question about whether this is for repair or for reverse engineering access. This is actually for repair. I'm just trying to fix this. I've already got all the information I need to use the touchscreen because it's apparently a like an OEM component that was designed for industrial applications. So I could just get the original documentation and driver kit from that OEM package. So that part was fine. Then I was just left with the fact that the touchscreen was actually just also broken. I had been assuming for years, since I've had this for a while, been assuming that it was a problem with the cable, since usually the way these things go is that the hinge in the cable, or the cable in the hinge fails. But I tested the cable and that wasn't it. And a couple of streams ago, I found pretty good evidence that the problem was on one or two of these pins on the, like specifically the interface between the flat flex cable and the connector. So the connector itself is good, but it's no longer making good contact with the underlying trace on a couple of these. So if I had all the right tools to redo the connector, I could do that, but since I don't, this seemed like the way to fix it using the parts I had. Hey Tuco, thanks for your patience. You just want me to come out though. Oh, there's a question about Tuco. Yeah, Tuco's been pretty good lately. He's kind of a handful because he's got a lot of energy, but as far as I can tell, he's super healthy. It was hard to find a diet that worked for him for a long time, but I think I've basically resolved that problem. I found this basically freeze-dried meat that is finally something that he's actually excited about that's also not junk food. So that's been pretty cool. Yeah, sorry to hear that your cat's been throwing up. Tuco does that sometimes too. I mean, he's a really picky eater, and especially when he was having more dietary problems than he currently has been. Like he would have trouble finding something that he liked at all. He would just like avoid the food, and then when I would give him some food that was tastier, he would just like eat way too much of it and then puke. But now he's controlling his intake pretty well. Yeah, I hope your cat does all right. I hope they have a good relationship with food and stop puking. Hey Tuco, I still need to wash my hands, but you're welcome to climb around, I guess. I should put these tools in the drawer, though. Oh, Tuco. Hey. Do you want to hang out? Okay. Well. Alright, I think Tuco does want to hang out, but elsewhere, so I might just shut my studio for a minute so that this epoxy can cure without cat intervention. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. I will see you on the next stream. I've been trying to do these every day on Diode Zone, on YouTube, and on Twitch. So yeah, stop by whenever, sign up for whatever notification thingy you like. I've also got a bot on Twitter at scanlime-in-progress that sends out stream announcements. If you like these, you can follow that, and it sends out a tweet when the streams start with links to all the platforms, and then like I think I have it set to every like 80 minutes or something. Between an hour and 2 hours, it tweets these screenshots to just like show you what's going on, even if you aren't actually tuning in. Anyway, Tuco is yelping at me, so I'm gonna go pay attention to him for a while. Hey, Tuco, you want back in? Yeah. You're so bossy. You're so bossy. Hey! You're so bossy. He's so bossy. That's a good question for robotics hacking. I haven't like looked into resources like that in a long time. I had this book that I was super into when I was a kid. I never really had the resources to build the stuff in it, but I would read about, you know, like, oh, if you have a Commodore 64 and some stepper motors, here's how you could build a robot out of it. There's just so much on the internet now, like, I don't know, I don't really know how to give advice about tech anymore, because the same things that make it sort of appealing and accessible at certain points in like one's journey, I feel like some of those same things are making it like harder for me to appreciate, because it's like easy to approach it all from a like, oh, what resources do I buy, like what pieces do I need, like how do I assemble the Legos, and then like once I have that, like, well, where do I go with that? Do I become the next Boston Dynamics, or do I, you know, sell something to a larger company, and like, do I go into, I don't know, like it's hard to find an application for technology, because really all you're doing is you're pushing power from one place to another without really transforming it significantly. But if you find yourself interested in a particular kind of technology, like, I don't know, I've often had luck with just kind of following those interests as much as possible, like trying to pull on the threads that you find you're enthusiastic about, but then like learn about those in detail. So, you know, if you want to build something, there's all sorts of, you know, like Arduino and servo motor and stepper motor kind of things you can start with, and there's a lot of overlap between robotics and like remote controlled, oh, Tuco, don't, like remote controlled vehicles. But like whatever you choose, there are different ways of approaching it. Like you can treat it as a like consumerism exercise, like what do I buy and how do I attach the things that I buy. But there's also a lot of potential for like understanding things at other levels if that's also interesting. And like there's so much documentation on the internet that like a lot of these things you can just like do web searches for, like, oh, how does this thing work, or like technical documentation for X, technical documentation for this. And so TLDR, I don't really have any specific answers, sorry. There's another question, have I heard about the Steam Deck? Yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't really been in the market for hardware or gaming devices in a while, so I haven't been considering it personally, but I'm aware that it exists. It seems like it'll be a nice way to get more people gaming without having to rely on Windows, which could be nice. I mean, again, with the like power, right? This is like a little power battle between Microsoft and Valve, but the open source communities around that can kind of try to get some of the benefit. Yeah, that cat over there, not Tuco, but the plastic cat, is an old 3D print that Tuco has been chewing on. I think I printed it just to try to see how big of an object I could make with my larger 3D printer. And it's very, very thin, so it's not very strong. I've had to glue it back together in a bunch of places. Yeah, it's pretty funny when Tuco chews on the 3D printed cat. It's less funny when you have real cats chewing on real cats, which does happen. Yeah, Tuco does not get along with other cats. I was hoping that we could make some friends here, but there's some neighbor cats that I get along with, but Tuco seems very suspicious, and when I tried letting Tuco and that extremely friendly and curious neighbor cat interact a little bit, Tuco was pretty mad, and I had to evacuate the other cat. Some comments in the chat about DRM and open source and Linux, and I mean, yeah, that's also not really new. I mean, there's been some news about that recently, but like gaming companies have, like media companies in general, have always been like trying to do a DRM, and it's always at odds with understanding the system because DRM is fundamentally something that relies on obscurity. And then there's another question about what breed is Tuco. My understanding is that he's half Bengal and half something called American Curl, which is where he gets his ears. So he has a lot of the like Bengal cat characteristics, like he runs a lot and he's pretty high energy and climbs on stuff a lot, and he has kind of the coloration. And then American Curl gives him the ears, and my understanding is that American Curl also tends to mean that your cat's personality is like American Curl adults kind of act a bit more like kittens. So Tuco's got a lot of energy, even though he's like 8 years old. He's still just all getting into stuff all the time. Gosh, how thick is this? I should probably measure. Do I have... I'm doing all this microscope work without any sense of scale, right? This is not an extremely small connector. I think it's 0.1 inch pitch. Tuco is a nice buddy. He and I have been really good for each other, I think. Just trying to get a reading here. There's a bit of parallax because I didn't want to squish this stuff. Is OBS lagging because I was switching scenes too much? Yeah, this is 0.1 inches, 2.54 millimeters. That is a millimeter. Okay. I said I'm not going to fuss with that. Alright, well, I will see everyone tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging out. Happy hacking, folks.